I didn't leave him because he cheated. I left him because I thought I caught him hiding a life he could never explain. And for a long time, I told myself walking away was the smartest decision I ever made. It started quietly, not with arguments, not with distance, but with caution. He became careful with his words, careful with his time, careful in a way that made me feel like I was standing too close to something fragile. Whenever I asked if something was wrong, he would smile and say, "It's nothing, I just don't want to worry you." But worry doesn't disappear when someone dismisses it. It grows. Late evenings turned into late nights. Quick errands turned into long absences, and every reassurance felt rehearsed. Not dishonest, just incomplete. I told myself not to overthink it, that relationships go through phases, that love doesn't always explain itself perfectly, but doubt doesn't wait for permission. One evening, I followed him. Not because I planned to, not because I wanted proof, but because something in me needed clarity more than comfort. He stopped at a quiet house on the edge of town. Not hidden, not secretive, just still. I watched from across the street as he knocked. The door opened. A woman I didn't recognize stepped aside. Then a little boy ran toward him, without hesitation, without fear. My boyfriend knelt down and caught him instinctively, like this was routine. The child wrapped his arms around his neck, and my boyfriend closed his eyes like he had been holding his breath all day. That was the moment my chest collapsed. Because children don't run toward strangers like that. I didn't go inside. I didn't knock. I didn't ask who they were. I sat there and let my mind do what it does best when it's scared. It finished the story for me. He had another life, one he never trusted me enough to tell me about. I went home, shaking. Every late night suddenly had meaning. Every pause felt intentional. Every quiet smile felt like guilt. And the worst part was how convincing it all felt. So I did what I told myself was self-respect. I sent one message. "I know. Please don't contact me again." He called immediately. I didn't answer. He called again. I turned my phone face down and told myself silence was strength. By morning, I had blocked him everywhere. Friends told me I was brave, that I saved myself from lies, that men who hide children always hide more. I believed them, because believing them meant I didn't have to question myself. Time passed. Life didn't fall apart. It just rearranged. I learned how to talk about the relationship without saying his name, how to sound confident when explaining why it ended, how to convince myself that closure didn't require answers. Then one night, everything came back. My car broke down on a quiet road, a flat tire, no signal, no nearby lights. I waited. 10 minutes, 20, an hour. Cars passed without slowing. People glanced and kept driving. I told myself I was fine, that I could handle it, that I didn't need help. Then a car slowed down. I didn't look at the driver at first. I just heard my name. Soft, careful. I turned around. It was him. Standing a few feet away, hands visible, not rushing. "I thought it was you," he said. I say, Are you okay?" I couldn't speak. Of all the places, of all the nights, it was him. He changed the tire quietly. Efficient, like someone used to solving problems without attention. When he finished, I finally noticed it. The necklace around his neck. The one I gave him before we broke up. Simple, unremarkable, but unmistakably mine. He never took it off. That was when the question I had avoided for so long finally came out. "Who is that child?" He didn't hesitate. "That's my sister's son," he said. My stomach dropped. "She collapsed right after giving birth. No warning. No time to prepare." The woman I saw that night wasn't his partner. She was a caregiver, someone helping him raise a child he never planned for. but couldn't abandon. "I wanted to tell you," he said, "but I was scared." "Scared of what?" I asked. "That you'd see me as baggage, that you'd stay out of pity, or leave, because it was too much." "So you said nothing," I whispered. "I chose silence," he said, "and I lost you anyway." That was the moment everything rearranged itself. The pauses, the tired eyes, the careful words. He wasn't hiding betrayal, he was carrying grief, and I never asked him to put it down. I didn't lose him because he lied. I lost him because I assumed, because I trusted certainty over curiosity, because I decided the ending before letting him explain the story. People think betrayal is loud, but sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's walking away too fast. Sometimes it's believing you're being strong when you're really just afraid of being wrong. And the hardest truth of all? The question that could have saved everything was never asked. Not because the truth was hidden from me, but because I chose not to hear it. After that night, I didn't feel the kind of relief I expected. There was no sense of closure, no feeling of peace. Just a quiet heaviness that followed me everywhere, like my mind was still trying to catch up to what my heart had already accepted. I kept replaying the same thought over and over. Not the night I followed him, not the message I sent, but the moment right before everything fell apart. The moment where I could have asked one question. I started noticing how often I had confused certainty with strength. How easy it had been to convince myself that leaving early meant I was protecting my dignity, when in reality, I was protecting myself from the possibility of being wrong. Because being wrong would have meant staying, listening, admitting that my fear might have been louder than the truth. I realized that night that I had never actually been afraid of losing him. I had been afraid of feeling foolish. Afraid of discovering that the story I built in my head was wrong, and that I had almost destroyed something real because of it. What haunted me wasn't that he had kept something from me. It was that he had been carrying something heavy alone, and I never once asked if he needed help holding it. I thought about how many times in life we treat silence like evidence, how quickly we turn gaps into conclusions, how easily we mistake imagination for intuition. And how often we walk away believing we're being brave when we're really just avoiding discomfort. That night taught me something I wish I had learned earlier. Love doesn't fall apart because of the questions we ask. It falls apart because of the questions we're too afraid to ask. Because when you don't ask, you don't just lose answers. You lose context. You lose understanding. You lose the chance to be wrong together instead of alone. I don't know what would have happened if I had stayed that night. I don't know if things would have worked out, but I do know this. Walking away without asking wasn't strength. It was fear dressed up as certainty. And certainty without truth is one of the most dangerous things we carry. So if there's one thing I've learned from losing him, it's this. Don't let pride make decisions that curiosity could have saved. Don't confuse silence with clarity. And don't assume you understand the truth just because it feels convincing. Because sometimes the story you're most certain about is the one you never gave a chance to be explained.